It was meant to be one of those moments in pop culture that people never forget. Beyoncé on stage at the 2011 MTV VMAs, holding a developing tummy, unbuttoning her glittery jacket, and beaming like the sun. The audience went crazy. In the front row, Jay-Z grinned like a happy father, and headlines about the music royalty went viral online. 024. However, a bizarre incident occurred just as fast as that moment became legendary. An embarrassing tape appeared on an Australian chat show a few weeks later. Except for a strange moment when Beyoncé's baby belly seemed to collapse when she sat down, the video is grainy and lacks any dramatic elements. Not move, not change, not fold. Was it a fabric trick or an odd camera angle? Perhaps 049. However, that moment never really went away. It never gained enough traction to be significant until recently, but it persisted in Reddit threads and conspiracy circles. Here comes Jay-Z's biological son, Ramir Sadwait, as he came to be known. He suddenly comes out, not just with outrageous allegations of abandonment, but with a more significant twist. He implies that Blue Ivy, Beyoncé and Jay-Z's kid, may not actually be Beyoncé's biological child, 116. All of a sudden, that old, foldable bump clip stopped feeling like internet junk food. It began to resemble Exhibit A in a much more complex and sinister tale. And Ramir isn't the only one speaking. A lady who claimed to be the Carters' former nanny also came forward in the same storm of headlines. She claims that despite never having seen Beyoncé pregnant, she assisted in caring for Blue Ivy when she was a newborn. Not once, 142, not even in the final moments. But whether or not you believe her, that level of detail causes your mind to halt. It's one thing for an outsider to post theories on TikTok, but it's quite another for a nanny to claim to have been inside the house. Let's be honest now. The use of surrogates by celebrities is not a controversy. 2 o'clock. Many well-known couples choose that path for logistical, medical, or emotional reasons. The performance of it all, however, is what sets this hit apart. The VMA moment, Litchi's performance, the well-timed paparazzi photos, and the interviews in which Beyoncé discussed cravings and baby kicks. Why the theater if this was indeed surrogacy case? If it wasn't, why are NDAs in circulation and people voicing their disagreements all of a sudden? Ramir is also not going to back down. 232. He's not merely saying that the Carters kept him hidden. He is proposing a complete cover-up that completely changed the family's story from the start. According to him, the truth is more important than money. But in our world, truth is elusive. His tale is being questioned, but so are his motivations. 251. Is he resentful? Is he broke? Is this one major attempt to pierce the armor of the most secure empire in music, or is he stating the truth? The problem is that Jay-Z and Beyoncé are more than just well-known and wealthy. They have a plan. They carefully curate every image, public appearance, and scrap of family life they let the world see. 312. So, a public begins to zoom in as soon as fractures develop. Back on Twitter, that old clip of the folding bump. The pictures of Blue Ivy's infant are reanalyzed like evidence from a crime scene. The Carter family isn't a perfect dynasty all of a sudden. People are rushing to fill in the holes in a mystery. Novel that has missing pages. 332. All of this has happened at a time when the Carter brand is already facing pressure from growing scrutiny, legal troubles, and quiet feuds. It's a developing hurricane, not just one storm. And the charges made by Ramir. What is the truth behind the perfect image we've been fed all these years? Is a question that they may be the catalyst for. There is nothing more suspicious about. The time, 3:55. Ramir's account went viral like a well-aimed grenade on the internet at a time when the Carter dynasty was already dealing with lawsuits, broken business ties, and rumors of former allies becoming rivals. It was referred to as a desperate plea for attention by some. Others claimed that by targeting the most prominent couple in entertainment, he was engaging in risky behavior. 416. However, it was evident that he was not afraid. He spoke with the unconcerned annoyance of someone who has had too much disregard and has nothing left to lose. Unexpectedly, a comment from a purported insider who had worked closely with the Carters in their early years as parents reappeared. 436. This individual did not simply repeat the nanny's tale. They said that even the majority of the staff was not allowed to enter some parts of the house, which were secured and shut off. There were private entrances for deliveries, rooms reserved for a select few, and times when Beyoncé would vanish for hours before resurfacing in full glitz, but never. Clearly pregnant. 457. It seemed like typical celebrity privacy to some. However, when juxtaposed with the mounting mountain of contradictions, it began to resemble choreography. In Hollywood, the phrase image architecture is used. It's the notion that every element of your public persona, what you say, wear, and share, is a brick in the fortress. 517. The Louvre was the model for Beyoncé's stronghold. Strong, perfect, and free of cracks. However, even the greatest plans have flaws in a society that is fixated on excavation. Since the beginning, Blue Ivy has served as the public face of that architecture. She was a brand, not merely a kid. She became a representation of generational brilliance with her participation in luxury ads, record credits, and award shows. 540. She was viewed by fans as a representation of the power, legacy, and love story of Beyoncé and Jay-Z. Therefore, it is not only problematic, but also nuclear, to imply that her mere existence may be a part of a covert agreement. Then there is the theory of the lost twins. It's the sort of thing you'd anticipate hearing on underground websites rather than on well-known ones. But it's here. People are saying that Jay-Z fathered another set of twins years ago, before Beyoncé's stardom. 602. These youngsters are allegedly bound by strict non-disclosure agreements, confidential trusts, and a trail of carefully hidden breadcrumbs, and were never publicly recognized. According to the notion, their mother was bought off to be silent, their names were removed from official accounts, and their ties to the Carter family were severed. 627. Until you consider how tightly the Carters manage their empire, it sounds crazy. There are no mistakes or unintentional disclosures. Is it really so difficult to imagine that more kids could be out there, right in the middle of the story, meticulously removed like a cutscene? Jay's own song lyrics are now being criticized. 648. Fans are dissecting them like code, highlighting lines that, while poetic at the time, now sound like possible confessions. Courtroom evidence is being examined in relation to references to shadows I cannot identify, doors I never open, and family I keep silent. Perhaps it's all metaphorical. Or it could be anything more. 709. By the way, none of this has been discussed in public. Jay-Z and Beyoncé had remained silent, like they always do. However, in a situation like this, being silent feels less dignified and more like evasion, since the more questions that are raised, the louder the silence becomes. 727, and it's easy to think that they're hiding something from the world. They can no longer control the spotlight. Mystique, precision, and the appearance of unbreakable harmony have been the foundations of Beyoncé and Jay-Z's empire. However, it seems as though the crowd is no longer paying attention to their performance. 746. Pulling back the curtains and checking for trapdoors, it is examining the stage. Even silence becomes a message when every movement is examined. Curiosity among the public has evolved into intense research. Clipped, slowed down, and suspiciously rewatched are old interviews. Once applauding Beyoncé's maternal glow, Fans now take note of her cautious demeanor when questioned about her pregnancy. 809. Others highlight the meticulous management of Blue Ivy's early years. Seldom observed, constantly managed, and never. Far from the accepted family story. If it was merely privacy, then that would make sense. The public was never supposed to question it, but now it feels like red tape wrapped over it. The purported ex-nanny is also not backing down. 831. She has steadfastly stuck to her version of events, telling the same account to numerous independent outlets. No late pregnancy exhaustion, no hospital stays, no belly kicks, just a job, taking care of a baby that just showed up in a house where some questions were never to be answered. Her remarks have created a voice, a face, and worst of all for the Carters' credibility for the whispers. 855. Tina Nally's comes next. Even Beyoncé's mother, who is always kind, encouraging, and fiercely protective of her daughter's reputation, is now having her previous interviews re-examined. She seems suddenly measured in the clips where she highlights Blue Ivy's abilities. Yes, there's warmth, but there's also a strange aversion to certain time periods or early recollections. 980. She discusses Blue's presence, poetry, and piano prowess, but she never discusses the actual birth. That's observable for a mom. Furthermore, it is now thought that Tina is doing more than only shielding Beyoncé. She could be the mastermind behind the quiet. As we travel farther down this rabbit hole, it becomes increasingly apparent that we are looking at a jigsaw with each piece intended to divert attention from the ones that are missing. 944. And Blue Ivy is right in the middle. No longer merely a kid of celebrities, but a representation of something far more significant. We have been witnessing a meticulously crafted reality for more than 10 years, if even a portion of this is accurate. Not merely a fictitious pregnancy, but a complete revision of one's past. Some even claim that this goes beyond hidden children or surrogacy. 1004. It's about power, the capacity to completely and continuously change the truth, so that even when it tries to emerge, it gets lost. In the midst of award show performances, sold-out tours, and opulent branding. That is the most frightening aspect. How many other celebrity realities are merely staged illusions if this degree of narrative control is achievable? Blue Ivy herself has unintentionally become the focal point of a national reckoning amid this disarray. She did not request it. 1034. It wasn't started by her. However, millions of people are now analyzing her image and her part in this story. Every time you appear in public, it becomes a test. Every gesture, facial expression, and possible hint is unjust and harsh. But when you center a whole brand around controlled perfection, that's what occurs. 1054. People will destroy everything to find the truth, or at least what appears to be the truth, as soon as they scent a lie. Now all that remains is an unanswerable question. How much of what we believe to be true about Beyoncé and Jay-Z is actually a well-produced myth, if this narrative is even remotely true? And what will happen if the public is ever presented with actual, indisputable proof? Will the empire fall apart, or will it simply become another delusion that is more powerful and intelligent than